The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey!
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
When is it time to talk about it? After Sandy Hook, when 26 lives were took, the politicians shook their heads and said we shouldn't talk about it. Our nation grieved. They gave their prayers and sent their tweets, but they didn't want to talk about it. We can't politicize this, they said. 20 kids are dead. We have to lay them to rest before we talk about it. Like it was honoring their deaths more to once again ignore the very reasons, but we didn't want to talk about it. And you could take the rhetoric and switch the tragedy. I couldn't tell the difference, which is obvious insanity, but I was just as culpable for what I didn't do or say, because honestly, it hurt too much. I didn't want to talk about it. Well, now I want to talk about it. Private guns have killed more Americans since 1960 than all of our wars combined. Now, personally, that's a statistic that completely blows my mind. Or what about the number of our gun-related homicides? It's higher than any other developed country by 20 times. And that's not only crimes, because on the average, roughly 33,000 people every year lose their lives. If that was terrorism, we would lose our minds. If that's not terrorism, we have lost our minds. In fact, maybe terrorism should be redefined, because mass shootings have become a sign of modern times. When do we draw the line? When do we grow a spine and stop using the Second Amendment to hide behind? You want to keep your guns, that's perfectly fine. I'm not arguing to take them away unless you're hunting lions. And yet the NRA accuses me of lying, like secretly I'm trying. That way they change the conversation from the people dying. It's really evil. I am tired of this misleading line they're feeding to the media. The talking points are really just excuses to be greedier, and Congress won't do their jobs because lobbyists have paid them off, so they ignore the problems that they're there to solve. Public service has a private interest when campaign contributions make them liable to the parties that contribute. It's a form of paying tribute, but the dollars make no sense. How can a background check be something that we're against? If the prevailing argument is it's about our mental health, then it's illogical to think that regulations wouldn't help. And while the left and right fight, both are dying in between. It's not the red, white, and blue. It's the red, white, and green. I can't take an open water bottle on a plane, but I can walk around Nevada with an AR-15. Can't you hear the children scream? Can't you hear the children scream? Can't you hear the children? Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them scream? You're on the wrong side of history. There is no in-between. When you look back in 20 years, tell me who you want to be. Can't you hear the children? Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them scream? It echoes through the halls of schools that were replaced by crime scenes. Can't you see the children? Can't you see them? Can't you see them bleed? Can't you see their parents seeing them in each and every dream? When the news vans have left and they're left with quiet streets and private grief, but they can't leave, they can't leave, they can't leave. So they count the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and nights and weeks, dealing with a pain so deep that it's awake inside of sleep. It's in their bones and in their smiles and in their hair and in their speech. And in the morning they remember tears streaming down their cheeks, chest heaving from the morning. It's impossible to breathe. And at that point, it doesn't matter what you once believed. We have let a special interest hold us hostage over greed, but it's in our hands, so why are we the ones that have to freeze? Don't move anything. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Don't change anything.
His name is NQ, if you want to look him up. What could go wrong? We have a hate-filled country. We have crazy people, and we have easy access to guns. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? And the right wing just says, well, there's always going to be crazy people. And now that the violence is targeted to blacks and Latinos and Muslims and Jews, we're not supposed to say it's racial. because we'll always have crazy people. We have a president who stands there and, disparages in dehumanizing terms haggard hunter and housewives and their children, trying to make it to a better place, trying to get their kids into safety. He proclaims himself a nationalist, a president who proclaims himself a nationalist and separates babies from families. We have an enormous amount of gun violence in this country, from Parkland to Aurora, Dylan Roof going into a black church. I mean, we have voter suppression and violence and white nationalism. And I just want to tell you, this is just beginning. Democracy is literally hanging by a thread. You know why? Because we gave an inch. That's why. We gave an inch, and now they want a mile. We gave an inch. We stayed home. We stayed home in 2010. We stayed home in 2012. We stayed home in 2014. We stayed home in 2016. People didn't think that, this candidate was perfect enough, so they stayed home. They bought into, the suppression tactics. They believed what Russian trolls were, permeating all over our social media. And they stayed home. So we gave an inch. And now they want a mile. And that's why I'm telling you, this is just beginning. You have a president who, in the last, 72 hours, we have had a man try to get into an African-American church in Kentucky, an African-American church that had 70 people in it an hour and a half before he tried to get into that church. Because their services were over, the doors were then locked, and he couldn't get into that church. So he went to a grocery store, and he killed a man named Maurice Stollard, who was with his grandson trying to buy some poster board for a school project in front of his grandson. He killed him. And then he went out into the parking lot and he killed Vicki Jones, a woman who was just trying to do her grocery shopping, both black. After that, we totally forgot about that, because then we started seeing mail bombs sent to people who had been criticized by the president. Everybody that the president had labeled disloyal or a traitor or un-American or somebody that was an enemy of his, sent bombs, and they're not even done being delivered. Tom Steyer got one over the weekend, and Donald Trump tweeted at him after Donald Trump, the president of the United States, knew that Tom Steyer had received a bomb, and called him, names in a tweet. Like stupid grade school names. And then on Saturday, a man shouting, "All Jews must die," opens fire at a Pittsburgh synagogue that houses actually 3 synagogues in it, killing 11 people and wounding 6, 4 of them police officers. How many more guns do we need? Police officers. 2 of them are in critical condition. And the president refuses to pivot. He refuses to adjust. He refuses to stop using the language of hatred and division. He refuses, and that's just a fact. He will not do it. And all these men in the last few hours that have done these things were all middle-aged white men who were bitter and disappointed and full of grievance. The guy who went into the Kroger store was 51 years old, a white man. The guy who sent the bombs was 56 years old. He didn't know what nationality. He thought he was an American Indian. He thought he was a Seminole Indian. It turns out he had an absent father who was Filipino and a mother who was Italian. And he thought of Trump as a stand-in daddy. Now, I've seen that. I've seen those people in those chat rooms. I've seen them. Right side media. They air every single Trump rally and they call him daddy. They literally call him daddy. And then the man that went into the synagogue was a 46-year-old white man, completely disaffected, a loner, a guy who had no friends, and lived in one of the friendliest, most awesome neighborhoods that they used to say, because, Mr. Rogers from TV, he actually grew up there. That is his neighborhood. This is what we've been living through for the last week and a day. This is sick. This is just so unbelievable. But, you know, we're always going to have crazy people, everybody. And remember, it was a false flag with those bombs, right? That wasn't real. And just because the president decided to announce that he is suddenly a nationalist, he's a nationalist, and steals language from the Limburgs. Yeah, Limburg and the Henry Ford anti-Semites and all those people dating back to World War I. The nationalist rhetoric he's just now adopted, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose, doesn't mean that he's responsible for any of it, because we'll always have crazy people, and this is America, and everyone should have easy access to guns. Not to the ballot box. We have massive voter suppression going on in North Dakota against Native Americans and against white people who live in the burbs, in the exurbs, who don't have street addresses and can't get voter ID. Georgia, you had Jimmy Carter writing a letter today to Brian Kemp of Georgia saying, just recuse yourself from overseeing the election while you're on the ballot. What is so hard to do that? And he won't do it. We have voter suppression all over the place. We have voter suppression in Kansas. Same thing. Chris Kobach, Secretary of State, overseeing his own election. What could go wrong? Won't recuse himself. We have voter suppression everywhere. People can't even cast a ballot. There's so much hatred, and so much of it is obviously racial. But we're not supposed to say anything because, you know, it's equal on both sides. It's equal on both sides. Why? Because we yell at people at a restaurant? Oh, my God. Because we shun and shame people and tell them, what are you doing, sir? What are you doing? You're putting a Supreme Court justice in place who has women with 8 witnesses, another woman with 10 witnesses, and the FBI won't talk to them. The FBI won't talk to the candidate for the Supreme Court. Nothing will be done about this. And a woman has the temerity to say in an elevator to a sitting senator, you're putting somebody accused of molesting women on the bench. What are you doing, sir? Or somebody yells at Sarah Sanders and maybe she doesn't get her Cornish game hen. Or somebody yells at Ted Cruz and he doesn't get his, a taco bowl. This is the same as attempted murder. This is the same as murder. This is the same as physical assault. This is the same as saying you're a Proud Boy and your only reason for making this gang is to kill. It's the same as Richard Spencer saying Heil Trump. It's the same as saying, well, he's not alt-right enough, but at least he supports our views on everything from Jews to immigration to you name it. He's not exactly anti-Semitic enough, but he certainly hates Latinos and blacks. Look at my African American. Well, there's always going to be crazy people, and there are always going to be guns, and so what are you going to do about it? It's America. You know that the president, after this happened, went and did a rally in Murfreesboro, Illinois?
RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
I actually don't want to say this, but it's going to get worse. It's whatever happens next Tuesday, I think the divisions and the ugliness are going to get worse. And in part it's because when you have a president of the United States who is comfortable in dividing us, when we have these tribes who have separated themselves into these silos, who are marinating in conspiracy theories, when you have these dark impulses that have been called forth by the president of the United States, they're not going to go away. We are living in a time that is not only dangerous, but without leadership, moral leadership from the one person. I mean, the president of the United States is distinctive in terms of the whataboutism. The president is uniquely capable of uniting us, but as we're finding out, the president is uniquely capable of dividing us. And one of the things that we are learning is that this country is not immune to history. This country is not immune to the hatreds that have torn apart other countries. And I think that's the one lesson is going forward, is to understand that we may be special, but we are not going to be exempt from what happens when a country summons the darkness, as the president has, I'm afraid, has done.
Summoned the darkness. This man appeals to the lowest common denominator, the bitterest, the most disenfranchised, the most dissatisfied, the most disappointed in their own lives. And he feeds them and feeds them and feeds them someone to blame, someone to take revenge on, someone to get even with, someone. Meanwhile, he's stealing. He's literally stealing from you. He's literally stealing from me. He's literally planning to steal the last tranches of big cash, the last tranches, which are pension funds from public employees, which are Social Security and Medicare, the trust funds, the disability payments, the EBT cards, all those things that we fund. All those things. He's going to convince people that they can't afford them anymore and to give them up and starve for him. This man is so dangerous, I can't even breathe. And the fact that when all of this happened, all of it, he kept on going to his rallies. He kept on going. He kept on showing up. He talked about winning after people were slaughtered. He talked about winning after people were sent bombs in the mail. He called Tom Steyer all kinds of names over the weekend, a crazed and stumbling lunatic who should be running out of money pretty soon. This is what he tweets. As bad as their field is, if Tom Steyer is running for president, the Dems will eat him alive. What kind of imagery is this? What kind of sick psychology is this? And people fall for it over and over and over again because they don't read newspapers. They watch an endless barrage of attacks on people that are not responsible for anything that is wrong with your life. This morning on Fox News, they were accusing the caravan, which is thousands of miles away, on foot, filled with women and children, of bringing diseases. I'm not kidding. Like an infestation. This is all code for hatred.
What about diseases? I mean, there's a reason why you can't bring a kid to school unless he's inoculated. You know, there's things that happen in this country. We already give 40 to 50% of our taxable income to the government for social programs. Is it too much to say that we just can't have countries, entire populations come in here without being looked at as hard-hearted? To me, it's a practical way of having a nation that everyone looks up to and wants to be a part of. That's part of the reason why America's America. There's a process.
Brian, if this is allowed to continue, the caravan into the United States, then the border is meaningless. Now, and I mean that. I mean, what's the point of a border? If we can't stop individual narco traffickers and human trafficking across our border when they come in small groups, and we can't stop them in large groups, then I'm asking a reasonable question. What's the point of the border? Yeah. You can't stop small groups. You can't stop large groups. What's the point? And what's fascinating here is whenever it comes to the topic of illegal immigration, do you ever notice it's only discussed by the left in terms of its effect on the people crossing the border illegally? Mm-hmm. It's almost never discussed on the effect illegal immigration has on border towns, border communities, the taxpayers in the United States in general. It's like our concerns are ignored, and we're only supposed to pay attention to the concerns of the people in the caravan.
Now, you know, I lived in West Texas, and I'm here to tell you that the people of places like Marfa, Texas, the people in places like El Paso, the people in places like Midland and Odessa, we all know that immigration is a plus. We all understand, everybody knows that they like being able to freely go back and forth from Mexico to Texas, back and forth from Mexico to Texas. And nobody there wants a stinking wall. Everybody there loves their shared heritage. Everybody there enjoys their neighbors. Now, I got to tell you, the shooter on Saturday was reacting to the caravan.
The shooter in Pittsburgh expressly said that the thing that he was angry about were the migrants heading toward the American border. A situation that has been demagogued by the president, that has been hyped up and demagogued by right-wing media, that is being talked about in these like existential terms. That this is going to destroy America if these people get here. And while, you know, of course, the president isn't responsible, et cetera, it's also the case that this guy was clearly imbibing that rhetoric. He clearly was, that was radicalizing him, and I think we should recognize the ways in which that kind of demagoguery radicalizes people.
You think? You think maybe something that Trump says actually empowers and emboldens and radicalizes people? Do you think? Because I think so. You know why I think so? Because I listen to them.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
Our lived experience is being a young white person in 21st century America, seeing your identity be demeaned. I've lived in this multicultural mess my entire life, and I'm trying to get out of it.
Wife beater. You know he beats his wife. She just filed for divorce and says that he is so violent. He repeatedly beats her. Rob Porter is a wife beater, too. Donald Trump raped his first wife, and now he just manhandles women, grabs them, when they aren't, exactly welcoming. And, this is just the beginning. It truly is. We are literally at a turning point. This election, if for some reason there's enough voter suppression, or for some reason it's very close and this is a contested election and Trump throws it into the courts, they're going to see whether or not Kavanaugh was worth it. And if that actually happens, if that little test run is run, then it's time to start wondering whether or not you can stay, let alone raise children here.
We're going to have a short, sharp shock at some point in this country, and we're going to have to make a decision as a people, as a republic, whether or not we're going to continue as a Western democracy or whether we're going to slip into authoritarian statism. I think that, I've given up hoping that the Republican Party has any leadership inside of it that will ever check Donald Trump. But I hope that the tidal forces of American politics are going to bring some accountability to him in a few days, and I hope that at some point conservatives of good faith are going to say to themselves, we can't stick with this guy. The intangible outcomes of this are so horrifying that it's not worth the short-term executive orders and judges as the republic burns around this arsonist.
Dude, couldn't say it better myself. Everything this man touches dies. That's the name of Rick Wilson's book. That was Rick Wilson. Everything that Trump touches dies. And now he is all over, handsy, all over the United States of America. If everything he touches dies, and he's grabbing at us, and he's grabbing the votes, and he's grabbing people's ID, and he's grabbing people's ability to cast a ballot, tell me, is it going to die? Is it going to die? This is all this man knows. It's all he knows is how to bankrupt things, break things. He's like a tweaker, truly. And the only reason why he does what he does is because it benefits him. It certainly doesn't benefit this country. It doesn't benefit people who are desperate. It doesn't benefit people who don't understand why their lot in life is so poor. It doesn't benefit anybody to have a president like this. But it benefits him. And that's why he does it. A house divided cannot stand. That's as old as Abraham Lincoln. And this president knows that. And if it's chaotic here, and if it's falling apart here, and if people are at each other here, and we are so divided here, guess what he can do? In chaos, he can steal. And that's what it is. That's what it is. That's why he keeps saying, I am the least anti-Semitic person you know. It's because he doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care enough about anything. He only uses tactics that benefit him. So if anti-Semitism or look at my African American, or the caravan is full of diseases, and some Middle Easterners too, and you could really agitate, and you can cause violence, and you could set one upon the other, well, it's better for him that way. Because when the people are organized, when the people have a principled idea, whether or not they agree on how to execute it, but if the ideas are principled, and if the ideas are to make this a better place, and if the ideas are to make this a freer place, a more perfect union, then the people are coming. And he doesn't want the people to come. He's not interested in the people. The people are difficult. The people are going to put up a fight. The people are our only hope. And that's why people who speak to the people, the little people, like me, are not given platforms. Only people who will sit there and say diseases. They're bringing diseases. And there's nothing that can be done. It's a violent world. And Lou Dobbs, you know, they doubled down on this anti-Semitism to the point where literally Fox Business pulled Lou Dobbs' show. No, not the whole thing, just this one episode. Because this Chris Farrell from Judicial Watch, who is responsible for shepherding all these crazy, crazy things to the Supreme Court so that we lose our power and money becomes power, not the vote, not the people. Corporations become people and you become flotsam and jetsam. They pulled this because he was still going after George Soros, and his anti-Semitism was clearly understood.
This is a criminal involvement on the part of these leftist groups. It's a highly organized, very elaborate, sophisticated operation. I have that from the highest levels of the Guatemalan government. They're investigating those groups criminally, and I strongly urge President Trump and Attorney General Sessions to do the same here. A lot of these folks also have affiliates who are getting money from the Soros-occupied State Department, and that is a very great concern. You want to start cutting money there.
Oh, my God. Okay, that was hair-raising, but I have to tell you, even Shepard Smith has had enough.
For years, Central Americans have been enduring extreme gang violence and poverty across entire nations. Sometimes they travel in caravans up toward the U.S. border to seek asylum, as they did back in April, or to raise awareness about their hardships. This particular caravan started in Honduras, and according to the reporting of the Daily Beast, it swelled in size from a few hundred to thousands after a local TV network in Honduras reported that a Honduran organizer was going to pay for everybody's food and transportation, because usually you have to pay a mule, and usually you have to pay exorbitant fees like $7,000 American dollars just to get your way on this walk. So Hondurans who wanted to leave thinking somebody was going to pay for it all just came running. The caravan headed through Guatemala with immigrants joining along the way and forced its way through a security fence at the Mexican border on Friday. The caravan tried to cross a bridge. Who can forget this picture? Into Mexico. But they ran into Mexican police with riot shields and pepper spray at the other end. So some of the migrants started jumping off the bridge so they could cross the river below. Some of them in rafts, some through waist-deep or waist-high water, some with their children and the injuries and all the rest. And remember, it's in the 90s and feels like it's 100. And since then, they've kept marching through the southern Mexican towns, tiny little towns on tiny little roads with very little infrastructure and not a lot of help. An LA Times reporter said the caravan was more than 2 miles long at one point, just the caravan itself, and that people near the back were stumbling in the extreme heat. Where have they been sleeping? Well, they sleep in the streets, the burning hot streets, wrapping themselves in blankets and pieces of plastic. An Associated Press reporter said there was a chorus of coughs this morning from migrants who appear to be developing respiratory problems, and they're doing it and continuing to walk because everything is so horrible at home. They're not coming to get anyone. They're seeking relief from their hell at home.
Period. And the man that went on cable television in Honduras, I told you his name is Bartolo Fuentes, and he is the leader of a party called the Libre Party, which stands for free. And he got on, he didn't pay anybody anything. He just told them that if they would all gather and go together, they would be able to pass without having to hire a $7,000 coyote or somebody, that they would have to pay. But that there was power in numbers and that they should meet. And they do this every year. Every year, there is nothing new about it, and the president is making it into some disease-spreading infestation, and there's Middle Eastern people sprinkled in, and anything and everything to get people, to shoot, to kill, to be violent against haggard Hondurans who are only trying to get away from these lunatic right-wing governments that steal from them. That's it. And then you've got Trump just catering to the alt-right. I mean, just giving them every clue, every little morsel that they can ingest to let them know that their kind of division and violence is welcome in America because it helps him. Not because he cares about their cause, not because he cares about America, not because he cares about anything. He only knows it serves his purpose, which is to divide and tear us apart so he can steal. And the Republicans, they are so quiet about it. It's gross.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844.
561-270-3844. I started this gang called the Proud Boys. And
the Proud Boys?
The Proud Boys.
What's Proud Boys about?
We will kill you. That's the Proud Boys in a nutshell. We will kill you. We look nice. We seem soft. We have boys in our name. But like Bill the Butcher and the Bowery Boys, we will assassinate you. Now, part of the reason I agree to do the talk is because I'm allowed to bring all my guys. And we can fight our way in and fight our way out. Beating the shit out of these people. I think it's our job to do it. And the cops to turn a blind eye. If you're wearing a MAGA hat, as Sal is right now, Sal's in the studio, folks.
Oh my God, it's Sal Cipolla. Where are you from?
On here.
Wow, you came a long way.
If you're wearing a MAGA hat, and some guy with a slightly punk demeanor comes up to you and says, hey, are you Sal or are you pro-Trump? Choke him. Trust your instincts. Don't listen to what he has to say. Choke him. If I do a video where I say, how about we start throwing bricks? Is that legal? You can't call for violence on a specific person, but can you say they're throwing bricks? We should throw bricks. Can you call for violence generally? Because I am. Fighting solves everything. We need more violence from the Trump people, Trump supporters. Choke a motherfucker. Choke a bitch. Choke a tranny. Get your fingers around the windpipe. I want violence. I want punching in the face. I'm disappointed in Trump supporters for not punching enough. Get a fucking gun. Get ready to blow someone's fucking head off. I've even killed people in my dreams. That's how awesome my gun is. Get in trouble, get arrested, get fired. Let's all get in this together. They can't kill us all.
I got green tips, man. Those go through at least 3 bodies.
Oh, beautiful. Plop. I love the way he falls on his ass. They said, you want to go? I said, yeah, I want to fucking go. And I punched him in the face. And then Coulter emailed me later and she goes, conservatives never punched anyone in the face. Finally, things are turning around. And then Malmsberg goes, you're not advocating violence, are you? And I go, I absolutely am. It's a wonderful, effective thing. This is a fucking war.
I started this gang called the Proud Boys.
And this president he feeds them. He feeds them a constant, steady diet of who to hate and who to blame and make it racial and ethnic and you know, just anybody that's an other. You know, he demonizes and uses dehumanizing language for every single person from, you know, lock her up and then stands there and says he's all about due process to, you know, tweeting out memes of Hillary Clinton, piles of cash, the Jewish Star, commercials that name nothing but Jews as being globalists. You know, he does it all the time. I mean, this is not a dog whistle at this point. This is a freaking bullhorn, and he doesn't even care about what their goals are, he cares about himself. And if we're divided like this, if we're divided between, you know, blacks and Jews and Latinos and white people, and if that's the case, and you've got one group, I don't know why they're scared of us. They have all the freaking guns. But if we're divided, he can steal. And that is what this is about. Trust me, it is what it is about. There is no question in my mind. This man is plundering. And you know what? Thank God Barack Obama is back on the campaign trail. He was in Wisconsin, and he was trying to explain. He is plundering. You don't get it yet, do you?
No, it's not true they haven't done nothing. It's not true they haven't done anything. Let me tell you what they've done. They cut taxes for the rich and corporations to the tune of $1.5 trillion, just like they did the last time. They stripped rules to protect our air and our water, just like they did the last time. They ran up the deficits, just like they did the last time. And you know what? They know that none of this stuff is actually popular. So their response, instead of changing their policies, is to try to actively purge voter rolls to keep people from voting.
Yep.
And they try to scare everybody else with whatever divisive social issues they can come up with, just like they did the last time. So let's just take a look for a second about what they've been up to. They promised to take on corruption. Remember that?
Yeah.
They have gone to Washington and just plundered away. In Washington, they have racked up enough indictments to field a football team. Nobody in my administration got indicted.
And you keep falling for, well, not us, but, you know, people in this country who are desperate and bitter and divided and unsure of how they ended up where they end up. All they need is for somebody to step up to the microphone and sell them these people that are to blame, and they will buy it. And they buy it all the time. And what happens to them? They get robbed. They get their stuff stolen. The government comes and takes their stuff. And instead of saying it is a policy of the Republican Party to take our stuff, to plunder our trust funds, to cut taxes and redistribute our wealth that we pay into the tax, to the Treasury, to the very wealthy people, they are only interested in saying it's the Jews or it's the Latinos. Those immigrants are coming here, and they give them free everything. They give them free nothing. Free nothing. And we need people to do work in meatpacking plants. We need the people to do the work in the fields. We need the people to do the work picking things, lettuce and grapes. And then you've got the racists out there like the Stephen Kings of Iowa. Oh, they got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're carrying 75 pounds of marijuana. Really? You see anybody get busted for carrying 75 pounds of marijuana in this caravan? I don't see anybody getting arrested. This is just so unbelievable. It's so sick. Kevin McCarthy, who wants to be the House, he wants to be the Speaker of the House. He's now the House Majority Leader. He posted on Tuesday, after a mail bomb was sent to Tom Steyer and sent to George Soros, he tweeted, not only tweeted, but pinned it to the top of his Twitter account. Like, you go to my Twitter account, and the thing that's pinned there is that last commercial you saw with the woman, cleaning the House and the Senate. Okay? But his, and he finally deleted it, was, we can't allow Soros, Steyer, and Michael Bloomberg to buy this election. I mean, honestly, 53,000 people in Georgia were purged. 70% of them African American. You had one county in Georgia. They were going to close 7 of the 9 polling places. You got elections being stolen under a non-existent crime called voter fraud that doesn't happen. And you've got people, being denied their right to vote because they don't have a street address. They use a P.O. box. Oh, yeah, that's a reason to strip somebody of their right to vote. Or simply because they're African American, or simply because they live in a Democratic neighborhood. Oh, therefore, we're going to draw a line right through your neighborhood to dilute you and your vote. We have minority rule in this country. I know everybody wonders, well, if there's more of us, why are there more of them in power? Because they know every trick in the book about how to divide and conquer. And either we're going to wake up, or this is it. Or this is it. This will become a country that is not immune to history. This is a very young country. Very young. You look at countries that have succumbed to things like violence and purges. I'm being polite here. They're thousands of years old. thousands of years old. Brazil, they just elected themselves, a Nazi. Austria's going that way. Hungary's going that way. Poland is going down that bad road again. The whole world is going down this bad road. Why? Because they understand in divided countries they can plunder, they can steal, and there's no leadership from the United States of America. The president has 9 hours a day of what they call executive time, meaning he just doesn't bother showing up. He doesn't ever show up in the Oval Office before 11 o'clock. And he's not interested in solving anything. He's interested in plundering. He's interested in dividing. He's interested in keeping the donors placated and happy and the Republicans placated and happy. And these people are going along with it. And if you ever share with me ever again, either your whataboutism or that both parties are just as bad, I'm going to projectile vomit on you. Because they're not. Both parties are not the same. The Democrats flirt with a little corporatism, and all of a sudden, you've got them in the Nazi boat. You've got them in the plundering, and pillage boat. No. We do have to clean up their mess over and over and over, because they always make a mess. Because they have no governing philosophy. Their philosophy is to steal. That is what they do, and they're very good at it. Tony in Chicago.
Hey, Randy. I'm very happy to speak with you.
Thank you.
You know, our country is being under attack by a lot of people, and it's really sad. I mean, I've been following current events and politics probably since the Clinton era, and I've never seen it this bad. We have Fox News against us. We have right-wing social media also. Now this new, I never even heard of this new website that this shooter belonged to, where everybody who has a suspended Twitter account to go to spread their hate. And like you said earlier, there are more of us than there are of them, but we all just have to show up next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, but the next one, and vote them out and get a Democratic Congress minimum, right?
It's funny, but there's been a steady diet in this country of nothing but hate radio and hate internet and hate social media. But it all started with talk radio, and it is interesting when we gave an inch, when we let them control 8 radio stations in one community, and 4 of them would have Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and Glenn Beck on them, right? All at the same time, and nobody said anything about it. That was when we started giving an inch. Then when we saw that, the internet was promoting things like Reddit sites with neo-Nazis, and the Daily Stormer was allowed to have a host, and these private companies are willing to host them, willing to, be the server. I will tell you, Gab, which is what you're talking about, which is Gab. It's the bottom of the barrel. It's where you go when you've been rejected from Facebook and Twitter, and you can't have a social media profile anymore because you've spewed so much hatred. You go to this place. Well, GoDaddy was hosting them, and GoDaddy said, no, we're not hosting you anymore. And I don't know if you know this, but Gab is offline. They're offline because they have to shop around for another server. Well, I got news for you. Regulations matter. When they deregulated radio, that's when you started to see the same shows on 4 or 5 radio stations in the same market spewing the same hate. Same thing goes for these private companies that host people, for these servers, and every other thing, okay? That guy, Gavin McInnes, he was a Fox News correspondent for a very, very long time. They host Jason Miller. They host, all these different people. They host a lot of hate spewers. Steady diet every single day. Like I said a long time ago, if you want to brand yourself news, you ought to have to meet some standards and practices. That is not limiting free speech. That is saying that you can't just spew hate to America all day long and brand yourself as being news, fair, and balanced.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal. To the magnificent mosaic that is America. From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's a figment of your imagination. Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Today, more fallout over this design used in a tweet to criticize Hillary Clinton. Derided as anti-Semitic for the Star of David shape over $100 bills. The same graphic appeared 2 weeks earlier on an account that promoted racist imagery. Trump's campaign altered the picture and called it a correction. But today, Trump blamed a dishonest media and said it could be seen as a sheriff's star. Clinton's campaign responded in a statement. This blatantly anti-Semitic image is part of a pattern that should give voters major cause for concern.
I mean, everybody tried to tell you about him. Everybody was trying to tell you about him. And then you got to see him actually do these things. And people, you know...
And what we haven't really heard being addressed is an uptick in anti-Semitism and how the government is planning to take care of it. There's
Yeah, the observant Jew is a liar. The observant Jew said he was going to ask a simple question, and it was a question about the rise in anti-Semitic activity, which, by the way, the Anti-Defamation League says has just last year it surged 35. The first year that Trump was president, you saw an increase in anti-Semitic behavior, from painting swastikas to leafleting, college campuses with anti-Semitic literature, putting Stars of David on people, labeling people that, try to live in harmony as being good goys. All this stuff. And of course, the Black Lives Matter, they turned it into Blue Lives Matter. And when kids get shot, they say we need more guns, not less guns. And of course, the caravan, not only is it Latino, but it's full of Muslims too. Anything, everything. And this is what he does. And then when stuff happens, they call it a false flag. They say it's a false flag. It was really done to the Democrats by the Democrats to gain sympathy.
The right wing in this country, the right-wing media, began peddling a conspiracy theory that this attack was a false flag operation. Now, that's a term with which you may not be familiar, but it refers to a hoax meant to misdirect attention.
Right.
In this case, that the bombs were sent by someone on the left in order to hurt Republicans. Conservative media outlets speculated wildly about alternative motives. In a now deleted tweet, Fox Business host Lou Dobbs asked, "Fake news, fake bombs. Who could votes in the upcoming election and, quote, to get our minds off the hordes of illegal aliens approaching our southern border." That message was hammered on for days on conservative media outlets.
Wouldn't it serve your purpose, if you're a Democrat operative, to make it look like the Republicans are a bunch of insane lunatics?
It could be someone who's trying to get the Democratic vote out and incur sympathy.
The left feels they're losing on many levels, and I feel they're planting these devices just to play the role of victim.
2 weeks before a major election, who's going to look like the bad guy here? The Republicans.
I believe that this whole thing was an elaborate hoax. Isn't it just as likely that it's an enemy of the president that put this together?
We have the worst right-wing bomb maker in history, or we have a false flag operation where it's a left-wing type of operation to create hysteria.
So the only thing in all of that might be true is that this might actually be the worst right-wing bomb maker in history.
Yep. Who left his fingerprints on the stinking bombs, which is how they caught him. His DNA and his fingerprints. The fingerprints were taken off of the improvised explosive device that was sent to Maxine Waters. I mean, thanks, Chad. That was Chad Jenkins. He's a former FBI agent. And he sat on Fox News calling this a false flag. Oh, well, he ought to be the worst bomb maker in the history of Yeah, he was. And you've got candidates out there that are saying the same damn thing. Same thing.
No, I think it's wrong to blame it on the White House. The people who have been dividing have been the extreme left, and Senator Baldwin has been happy to be a part of that. Look, we watched this happen in Wisconsin in 2011, and what we are seeing in Washington, this resist movement, this obstruction movement, is exactly what we went through, and people went too far, and it was a backlash. And we here in Wisconsin are seeing it happen all over again, disrupting people while they're having dinner. It's ridiculous. It's across the line. And people just want us to get the work done. And I put this all on the extreme left. And Tammy Baldwin is a part of that. She is not distancing herself from it. I have yet to hear her say anything to the contrary.
That's Leah Vuckmeyer. She's running in Wisconsin. She blamed the extreme left and Tammy Baldwin for the bombing. She blamed Tammy Baldwin for the bombing, not the bomber. No, not this guy who had a plastered van with anti-Semitic crap all over it, George Soros crap all over it, his face in the crosshairs, Hillary's face in the crosshairs, CNN sucks stickers all over it. No, she didn't blame him. No, she blamed Tammy Baldwin. You know, you can't keep falling for this swill.
You can't fall for that okie doke. Don't be hoodwinked. Don't be bamboozled. Wisconsin, don't fall for that kind of fear-mongering. Because while they are distracting you with all this stuff, they're robbing you blind.
Thank you.
They're giving tax cuts out to billionaires. They don't want you to notice that. Look, look, look over there. They're sabotaging your health care. Wait, look. They're letting big polluters rewrite our laws that keep our air and water clean. Ignore that. Look over there. It's like a con.
Yeah.
Where, a door-to-door salesman tries to sell you a security system while his buddy sneaks in the back, takes all your stuff. It's like Home Alone. You remember that movie? Joe Pesci's sidekick, he's trying to sneak in the doggy door. I guess you're too young for that. But you know what? There's a more important point here. When words stop meaning anything, when people can just make up anything, democracy doesn't work.
That's so true. And that is what the right-wing media knows. It is what they've known, it's what they've done, and they've been doing it since 1996. They've been doing it forever. They've been buying up everything and putting the same right-wing lunatic voices who are getting richer and richer and richer and richer off you and your suffering and telling you to blame the caravan, or telling you to blame the Jews, or telling you to blame African Americans. You know they're welfare queens, right? They're welfare queens. I mean, their children are wearing $150 sneakers while they're signing up for, unemployment or whatever. This is such old, repetitive blame. Look down, look down, look down. Never look up. Never look up. Because if you look up at the people on top of you, you'll find out that that is not rain. Maybe that's why Trump loves golden showers so much. It symbolizes for him the peeing on the little people that the rich people can do. Rick DeSantis went to how many white supremacist, rallies where Bannon and McGinnis and all these people, he's, how the hell was I supposed to know? He went in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. So our governor, our nominee for governor, our next governor, seriously, Andrew Gillum pointed out, I'm not saying you're a racist, but the racists think you are.
Mr. Gillum, I'll give you a chance to respond now.
Well, let me first say my grandmother used to say a hit dog will holler, and it hollered through this room. Mr. DeSantis has spoken. First of all, he's got neo-Nazis helping him out in the state. Yes. He has spoken at racist conferences. He's accepted a contribution and would not return it from someone who referred to the former president of the United States as a Muslim, Nigger. When asked to return that money, he said no. He's using that money to now fund negative ads. Now, I'm not calling Mr. DeSantis a racist. I'm simply saying the racists believe he's a racist.
Hello.
Let's, Mr. DeSantis.
Hello. Bring it home, Florida. That is how you do it. That is how you do it. They're plundering, baby. They are stealing from you. And they don't give a damn about any of it. They don't care if black people are getting shot when they're unarmed in a Kroger. They don't care if the Proud Boys are given TV time on Fox News. They don't care what they want to accomplish. They don't care whether or not the caravan was started because there's safety in numbers and it happens every single year. They don't care. They don't care about any of it. What they care about is stealing. They love to steal. And if people have to die in order for them to get richer, so be it. That's just the price of unfettered capitalism. And that is the truth. So we have crazy people in this country who are lost and looking for a daddy, and Donald Trump fills that bill and then fills them up with who to attack and and who needs to be killed. And they do it for him. And then he sits there and says, it's a violent world. We need more guns. If we had more guns, this wouldn't have happened. Listen, it's just, it's a violent world. Should I tone it down? No. All right, I won't. This is evil. This is ugly. Everything that Donald Trump says about others is what he is.
Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
You want to hear something really deranged? Listen to this. This is like right out of Handmaid's Tale, okay? This is a Fox News guest who is very concerned that women are not being forced to have babies.
I think there's more that could be done in the tax code to, promote family formation, which is really necessary. Ainsley, in Europe, they have even lower, many more problems because their birth rate is even lower than ours. And what they have done is they're importing workers through immigration programs, which is fine, but it comes with its own costs. There's the cost of assimilation. You had Andrew McCarthy on earlier talking about, they're having to grapple with Sharia law and all the cultural problems that happen when you import big numbers of people from a different.
Because if you don't have the kids, eventually there aren't going to be enough workers in the country.
That's right. And so what Stephen Mosier is suggesting is the ultimate Made in America program. Why don't we have our own citizens have our own babies?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Pray for us, everybody. Pray. Pray really, really hard that your neighbors show up. That is right out of Handmaid's Tale. I honestly, what?
By the way, Randy, do you know who she's married to?
No.
That's Representative Sean Duffy's wife.
It's his lovely wife.
And they met on The Real World, if you're wondering where they met and they fell in love.
Oh, Jesus. So another reality TV star.
You got it.
I mean, this is not a TV show, okay? We really need leadership, and we need leadership in this world. We need leadership in this country. This is just amazing. You have a president who is literally pure poison for democracy. That is what he is. He is pure freaking poison for democracy. He is the leader of the hate parade.
We're consumed by negativity. Insults are now a proxy for insights on all sides. But I'm not one who sees equal blame spread all around. Our president cannot escape special scrutiny. He is at the head of the hate parade and way too often. Clearly reading prepared remarks at a rally, he seemed not to give a damn. He showed tonight that he will not be the one to make the change. He never spoke about his own words or deeds, not once. And on a day that his opponents were targeted, he didn't even name them, let alone extend a branch. 2 former presidents and their wives, their families. One of them, his former election rival. And then he put it on us, the media, and us alone to be better and less negative. Unbelievable. And the crowd roared. He is one that calls opponents the enemy, calls a free press the enemy, celebrates violence toward the media, celebrates force as strength, targets the same folks who receive the packages, and he knows it. And he likes it.
He does like it, but it serves his purpose also. Let's not let that get lost, okay? The only reason why Donald Trump is poison for democracy is because he doesn't believe in democracy. You can't steal and not be held accountable in a democracy. He doesn't believe in democracy or a republic because he could be held accountable in a nation of laws. But in a nation of men, they will get his back. They will cover for him as long as they get a piece. And they stand there with him because they think they're going to get a piece. And then he has the nerve to talk to us about civility. I mean, we have been through racial murder in a grocery store, followed by, CNN got a bomb today. CNN got another package today from this same doofus, from this same Caesar Sayak dude, okay, today in Atlanta. So he sent 3 bombs to CNN. 3 of them. Tom Steyer, his staff intercepted 4, and they're still tweeting about him. George Soros, his son, wrote the most beautiful op-ed piece in the New York Times, and they're still naming him, and they're pinning it to the top of their Twitter account. We can't let the Jews, and by naming the Jews, they don't have to say the Jews, but we can't let them. Bloomberg and Steyer and Soros, still doing it. Kevin McCarthy, who she just quoted there, Steve King in Iowa. How do you vote for this, Iowa? I know your state. You're decent people. How can you vote for a white supremacist who actually says, the Austrian Nazis and the Polish Nazis and the Italian Nazis and the Nazis that are taking over Hungary are right? And then they'll sit there, you know what they'll tell you? There's no stronger supporter of Israel than me. You do know why these lunatic right-wingers support Israel, don't you? Because they want all the Jews to go back there and be killed, and then Jesus will come. It's part of their apocalyptic Armageddonist teaching. Not all Christians believe this, but they have all been talked into supporting Israel, which is so bizarre to me. Because the only reason why they support Israel is so that all of us will go back there and be killed. Mary in Washington.
Hey there, Randy.
Hi.
First time, long time.
Ooh.
I need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Good.
So I was listening to you last week, Friday, and you had a QAnon caller, a real conspiracy theorist that was questioning why the postal stamps weren't canceled. And so I got to tell you, at first I was like, oh my God, this just is depressing. And then I was like, wait a second, a QAnon is listening to Randi Rhodes. So I had a moment of optimism. I hope more of them are listening to you.
Me too.
You know, I don't know what your thought is on how the QAnon and conspiracy cult, basically, is affecting the discourse in America today, but I'm freaked out by it.
Well, it's like the quatrains of Nostradamus, right?
Right.
It is. It's like that. It's, look, there's always people that are, soothsayers or future readers or predictors or whatever. And this is just one of those. And people just glom onto it because they can't read a newspaper. I don't know what that is. I don't know why people won't orient themselves. And like I said, I don't care what newspaper you read. You could read USA Today. You could read the New York Times. You could read the Washington Post. It's 99 cents online to read these papers. The Wall Street Journal, I don't care what you read. Just read something.
Well, even today, they can go and read the Federalist, because this is shocking. The Federalist Twitter feed this morning has a big old Q article basically saying that they were talking to the creators of the Q hoax, and they explained its scary evolution from trolling to fleecing. So if these idiots won't, pick up a regular mainstream newspaper because they're terrified of it, they can just pop right onto the Federalist.
Well, listen, the Federalist is who gave us Brett Kavanaugh. And
it's horrible.
And everything about the Federalist Society, everything about them grooms the most elite of the elite, the prep school crowd, to go from elite prep school to Yale Law, and then onto the 10th Circuit. And then, you get picked for, they have it down. They've been working on the judiciary for 40 freaking years, okay?
Yeah, they have.
And what they're looking to do is create this uber toxic environment, and these conspiracy theorists and these, blame channels and these white supremacist channels, and they
catering to the crazies.
They don't even. But the real power in this country doesn't even believe in. Listen, I tweeted at Sheldon Adelson this weekend, and I just said, "What are you doing, sir?" Okay.
Yeah.
And I know what the answer, if he was, in tune with his social media, which I'm sure he's not, he would have said, I don't care why they support Israel, as long as they support Israel. See, this is the thing, is they will take any help from any hater, from any poison pen, from any that they can get. And if it leaves all of us trying to breathe some fresh air in the most toxic environment, then screw, who cares about the people?
It's in our family. We have two people that are deep into Q. I lost a friend of 25 years because I respected him. And now he was always a conspiracy theorist, but right now a lie on the internet doesn't die, right? So this stuff, the more it's disputed and debunked, the more these followers dig in their heels.
But they did it with Jim Jones too. They did it with David Koresh. These people were willing to die and sacrifice their children. Okay?
But now we have the internet as their platform. So we have, however many thousands following them.
Well, La-Ti-Da and La-Ti-Do are probably very, very, very proud of, the fact that these conspiracy groups, that these, kill yourself, die for the cause groups, they still can attract very weak-minded people and give them something to believe in. That's what's so scary about this Caesar Sayak guy. He said the same thing. His former lawyer was on TV this weekend, and he was saying that this was a lost soul. This was the guy with the mentality of a 14-year-old boy, and he was looking for a daddy, and Trump was his daddy. Well, like I said, when I go on to, some of these right-wing sites, and I sit there and I watch the comments and all that, they call Trump daddy. They actually call him that.
They do. They think he's the second coming. And that they're catering to the crazies, so these Q conspiracies pop up, and these people don't even realize that Q Drops app is one of the top selling.
Yeah, but here's the thing, if there was a second coming, these people would kill Jesus himself.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%.
Every decent person who has come down, I mean, and I love the way that they've, flipped the script and say, oh, it's always been the left that's violent. Really? We killed JFK. We killed Robert Kennedy. We killed Martin Luther King. Really? We're the violent ones. We're the ones that are putting swastikas on synagogues. We're the ones that are shooting up schools. We're the ones that are shooting up Las Vegas. Isn't it interesting? We never even learned what the motivation of the Vegas shooter was. And I have a funny feeling it's because it wasn't exactly something that would just point to the fact that he was crazy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, and that's the thing that freaks me out about these kinds of conspiracy theories is because they're catering to people who are already predisposed to be paranoid.
What could go wrong?
Right. You have these predisposed, paranoid, delusional people who are now being weaponized in a way. They call them autists, and they're like, do your thing, autists. And then they go on and they get all their information and news from memes and can't quote their sources at all. This postage stamp thing really got me because I receive packages all the time, and I get packages that occasionally do not have canceled stamps. 80% of packages are estimated to not get canceled stamps if you drop it in a meter mailbox.
Well, a lot of the things were delivered by hand. They were delivered by a courier. This is why they didn't want to read the rights to Caesar, because there was still bombs out there, and they wanted him to talk.
But the more ugly this false flag narrative gets, the louder it gets, and it just is. It's just. And
it's gotten to the point where they don't even care that there's tape. They just don't care, because whoever would play the tape after they're shown to be lying or after they were shown to be wrong, let's say, then, you shouldn't pay any attention to the person who's showing you the tape that clearly demonstrates that person was lying to you, or that person was, making stuff up. Right? I mean,
often Razor called. They want their theory back. They have no idea.
Well, the only reason why I care about any of it is because it's pure poison in our society now, and because it's absolute poison, and the president is using all of it to steal. I mean, that is the reason. Nobody can figure out, why is he doing it? Why is he pretending he's not anti-Semitic if he tweets out Hillary on a Jewish star with thousands of dollars? Or why is he pretending he's not anti-Semitic if he tells a Jewish reporter to sit down and you're a liar? Why is he pretending he's not anti-Semitic when he says, I'm a nationalist? Why is he pretending this when he says, I fell in love with Kim Jong-un, or I fell in love with Vladimir Putin, places where there is no freedom of religion? Why? Because it serves his purpose, which is to steal, and the Republicans are down with it.
He's surrounded by the evangelicals and all of the leaders that are just giving him permission to do this.
Because they're getting richer.
Exactly. They're giving him
the Johnson Amendment. Now, but they believe that this is a guy who will let them put politics at the pulpit without any tax penalty for being a for-profit political organization. And as long as, they have a chance at that, they're not going to criticize him.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
It's sad.
I mean, so you have people that sell buckets of Mexican food that tell you to use the buckets as tables when you're not, in the middle of the, the Armageddon, right? And they're making a freaking fortune off of these preppers and off of the militias. And you really think they're going to stop the gravy train? No, they'll support anybody who steps up to the microphone that gives them permission to keep on ripping off Americans, by selling them crap.
Yeah, I asked my father-in-law, why do you listen to Alex Jones? Why do you want to get your information from a vitamin salesman? He's like, he's not a vitamin salesman. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh my
do
God.
You not understand the business behind the ideology that you're soaking up?
Right.
Look, every few minutes, he's like, we're under attack. Buy some man vitamins. Like, ridiculous.
Which, by the way, is iodine. Okay, that is what that is. Right.
I know my brother-in-law is the poorest of poor, and this man has sunk every dollar into this stuff, and I do not get it. It's sad.
Well, I get it when you're poor, because when I was very poor, and I've been very, very poor. I mean, I know how to float checks and send checks in without my signature and do all those things just to, try and get through the month. In fact,
you knew that too, huh?
Yeah, we're doing it now, actually, because we're having it's very difficult here right now. We haven't sold a T-shirt or a hat in like 2 months.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm not kidding. And I really think the Randi Rhodes black hat ought to be the antidote to the MAGA hat. But that's just me. That's just me. But when I was very, very poor, I used to do every single chance I could. I would enter into the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. I bought magazines I couldn't afford just to be in the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. So I get it. I get how vulnerable you are. And I get that you think there's an easy way. There is no easy way. That's just the thing. And blaming other people isn't going to make anything better for you. I
agree.
It's not going to pay your bills. It's not going to put food on your table. It isn't going to do anything. So cut the crap. Buy a black Randi Rhodes hat. Wear your Randi. It should be the antidote. It's a fierce-looking T-shirt, I gotta say, and it's a great-looking hat. But we need to sell some stuff. I'm not kidding. I mean, it's almost the first of the month. I wasn't going to say anything till the first of the month, but something's going on out there, and I know it's election fatigue. I've been around the block a time or two. I know exactly the despair and the sadness. But like I said, you give an inch and they will take a mile. And that is what they want right now, because we gave an inch.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
I've got to believe that there are people of all political stripes who think it's wrong when you say deficits don't matter when you're helping rich people and pretend that somehow they matter a lot when you're trying to help working people. There've got to be people, I don't care what your party is, who think it's wrong to spend 8 years trying to take away people's health care and then spend the final weeks before an election pretending you're Florence Nightingale. There've got to be people who say that's not how politics should operate.
Oh!
I've got to believe that there's certain things that transcend party. And that whatever your political background, I'm hoping you think it's wrong to hear people spend years, months, vilifying people, questioning their patriotism, calling them enemies of the people. And then suddenly you're concerned about civility. Please. And by the way, we don't need more mealy-mouthed elected officials who claim they're disappointed by this bad behavior, but then don't do anything about it. And just go along with it. We need leaders who will actually stand up for what's right, regardless of party. Leaders who will fight for you and what's best in the American spirit.
Thank you. Thank you, Obama.
So in love with you.
Woo! I miss him. I really miss. You remember when the worst thing that a president said was
He's a jackass.
about Kanye? Remember that? That was like a week's worth of news. He called Kanye West a jackass because he took the spotlight away from Taylor when she was getting an American Music Award. And he jumped up on the stage and he said, Beyonce had the best video. She had the best video. And Obama looked at that and went, what?
He's a jackass.
Because it was a jackass move, right? And now he's a Trumper. Now he's a Trump pansy. Libby from Texas.
Hi, Randi.
Hi, Libby.
I don't even know where to start. I kind of want to go with the financial way. I kind of want to go with the social way. I just don't even know where to start with Trump and where we are at. I feel like where the Republicans are, whenever they try to focus Americans, they focus with fear. because they have nothing else to guide with. And why do they have nothing else to guide with? Because they gave all of our good, hard-earned tax money to the upper 1% who already had enough money.
Yeah.
And now everybody's looking at them going, where the F is our money, dude? Where is our wage increases? Where is everything that we worked so hard for?
Yeah.
And now they're looking at everybody going, oh, look at these illegal aliens. Look at these brown people. Look, because they really don't have anything else to go on.
Well, what's really sad is their policies have always been unpopular, and that is their policy has always been redistribution of wealth from the have-nots to the haves. It's reverse socialism. We all pay in to a pool, and then they give that pool to their donors, their friends, their fellow billionaires. And so in order to get you not to pay attention to the thievery and to the redistribution and to the pillaging and the plundering, they sow division. Division is diversion so that they can steal. It's like he said, it's like that movie Home Alone where, Joe Pesci's breaking into this kid's house, and while he's at the front door, he's got an accomplice who's going through the doggy door and stealing all your stuff. It's what they do, and division and diversion works well for them, so they keep on doing it. And every time they do it, the economy crashes, or the deregulation causes, the ability to steal even larger and larger sums of cash. Your house now, they can bury you under student debt. They could do all kinds of things to you. And as long as they divert your attention over to the small shiny object over there and tell you to blame that, they continue to steal. I don't know why people fall for it. I really don't.
Yes, Randy, but why? Why is it that people fall for that?
I think fear is a very powerful motivator. It triggers a fight or flight, sort of a human reaction. It's just it's inbred, it's inborn, it's part of our DNA. So the people who want to fight, when you scare them, they will, and the people who want to fly away, they will, and they'll sit in their houses and not participate. So it works for them on both fight and flight. And that's why they do it, because it works for them.
But why can't they see the breakdown that the people that are taking that 1% that are taking our money is taking so much more of our resources than the people that are coming in that are taking welfare are taking such little of our resources, and the rest of that money could have been allocated for health care and for so much other things for us. Like, I don't understand how they cannot equate that in their minds, and why Democrats are not able to get that message across over the fear of what Republicans are giving them. I just don't understand why time after time the fear message overpowers what the facts are.
Well, because fear is a very powerful motivator. Like I said, it's either going to motivate you to fight or it's going to motivate you to hide, to fly away, and it works for them over and over again. Yet what we see here is we had multi-billion-dollar, the most profitable, companies in the world are American companies, and they were doing great, billions of dollars in profits, good for them. And what did we do? We said that they needed a tax cut and we paid for it. How dumb. I mean, it's so simple.
Bullshit.
Right. But that's what happened. Well, yeah, I know they didn't need it, but,
And where did our wage increase come from?
Well,
some people got a bonus, but a one-time bonus.
No, and here's the number. Well, here's the
number.
number. Here's the actual number. $72 billion was given in one-time bonuses, but $720 billion went to corporations who used it for stock buybacks. So they got 100 times. They got 100 times what a one-time bonus. $1,000. One time they got $1,000, and the corporations year after year after year are getting 100 times that year after year after year. So what do we see? We saw revenue plummet into the Treasury by 31%. So now what do? Now they say you have to give up your Social Security. You have to give up your Medicare. You have to give up your Medicaid. Here's a dirty little secret. That has nothing to do.
The entitlements don't even go to the deficit, do
No,
they?
that's right. No, they don't.
So that's so fucking stupid.
Well, but that's what people don't understand, and they're simple
They
sentences.
need to be educated, Randy. Oh my gosh.
Well, so
dumb.
here's the simple sentence. The trust fund is completely paid for by payroll taxes that individuals and employers either share or, like
the workers
me,
pay for it.
Right. And that is a trust fund. That has nothing to do with the deficit. If you cut their benefits, the money saved by cutting would go back into the trust fund. It would not be applied to the deficit.
But somehow Republicans have tricked these people into thinking that the deficit is somehow encompassing of Social Security and these entitlements, and that somehow taking away their entitlement is going to help the deficit. No.
Well,
will help
you know,
the deficit
Libby,
if you'll stop.
Libby, where are you?
I'm in Germany right now, but I'm from Texas.
Oh, okay. Are you serving?
My husband is.
Okay. So, I mean, honest to God, this is exactly it. Okay, this is exactly it. When you have literally thousands of hours. I tried to get on Voice of America long time ago. Tried over and over and over and over again to get on Voice of America. And you know what they said? They said people like me were too controversial. I don't even curse. Okay?
I don't get that.
Right,
no, you're
but
just
they
giving
do
them
it.
factual information.
I understand. And for some strange reason, real information has become controversial because the people in power have a different plan. And the
lobbyists have a different plan.
Yes, and that's who the donors are. When I say donors, you're talking every day in Washington, D.C., every day. Beginning with breakfast. There's a place called Charlie Palmer's, okay? It's just one place, but I use it all the time because Charlie Palmer's, which is a restaurant, opens up bright and early, like 8 o'clock every morning for breakfast. Mm-hmm. And there are all these different rooms upstairs. And it's nothing but lobbyists holding breakfast fundraisers for various politicians in the morning.
Oh my gosh, it enrages me.
Yeah, and then it goes on
so mad.
and then it goes to lunch. And then after lunch, there's dinner fundraisers. And then after the dinner fundraisers, there's cocktail parties. And after the cocktail parties, there's house parties.
Of course.
Right. And
That
when I
enrages
lived
me.
in D.C., I lived with a lobbyist who was active then. 37 years Howard lobbied. And I got to go to every one of these things. And it was sickening. Everyone gets greased. It's just VIG. That's what it is. It's just like Goodfellas. It's just, they can't afford to pay for the protection against the people. So the lobbyists that represent industry come and give them the protection money so they could put these stupid commercials on the TV that call you a traitor or call me, an enemy of the people or whatever it is. And that protects them.
Or controversial.
Yes, they call me controversial.
That makes me so sick.
You know what I did over the weekend?
I
tweeted my brains out this weekend, okay? I tweeted Rob Reiner. I tweeted Tom Steyer. I tweeted Bloomberg. I tweeted every billionaire that I know that gives a damn or says they do, okay? And I said petition drives are not going to cut it. You have to buy some damn media. And I talked to Tom Hartman, too, and Tom Hartman's been writing editorials saying the same thing.
Right.
They won't do it. I don't know what it is, but the Republicans have no problem investing in those mouthpieces. They have no problem, buying media. And yet the Democrats don't buy any media, and thousands of hours of ridiculous swill goes unanswered every day. And then you ask me, why can't the Democrats get the message out? Because they don't buy the platforms. Because they don't.
And I don't know. They just don't. This is ridiculous, Randy.
I know. It's been ridiculous
this is crazy.
forever.
It's enraging.
Yeah, it is.
It's so enraging.
I know.
And I have student loans. I have 2 graduate student loans that are going to kill me. And I think about these interest hikes and stuff. And, that's just the nature. That's the nature of the beast. I mean, I knew it when I did it. But, I'm a military wife, so it's really hard for me to practice moving around. But it's just things like this. It's like, Trump says, we love the military. I'm going to tell you something right now. When he says he loves the military, he loves to invest in military
hardware.
Yes. he is not, I'm going to tell you right now, and all of Randi Rhodes listeners, he is not investing in military people. He is not giving us more money. He's not giving us support. He's not giving spouses and military people support. So when he says he loves the military, he doesn't. He loves military
They have
hardware.
never loved the military. They've never. They always love the hardware.
Thank you.
You know, it's so interesting how they scream Patriot.
Always
Patriot.
about the hardware.
Oh, the troops, the
That's
troops.
bullshit.
Hey, yeah, of course I'm a veteran. When I joined, we had Jimmy Carter was our president. When I got out, Ronald Reagan was our president. I joined because I came from the lower middle class. No one could afford to put me through college. My father told my sister she was pretty and she was going to marry well. And me, I was too smart, not so pretty. I better get a career. So I joined the military to get the GI Bill. When I got out and Reagan was president, there was no more GI Bill. So I got stiffed on that deal too, okay?
That's messed up.
Okay, and then they talk about, veterans and listen, they love us when we're all clean and shiny and in our dress uniforms.
But when you come out messed up, it's another thing.
Oh, you come out and you got a little, you got a little PTSD, or you're a little dirty, or your uniform's a little shoddy. All of a sudden, they turn their back. You could go be homeless. They don't give a damn about you. They couldn't care less. No, they're fake patriots. They're phonies. They've never cared about the troops. They've never cared about veterans. They've never cared about the military. They sacrificed how many? 58,000 lives in an unwinnable war in Vietnam, and kept lying and telling you that they could win with the Vietnamese, who only wanted to be free of foreign intervention from the French, and before that the Mongols, and after that the Chinese. All they wanted was their independence. That's what they wanted. And we sacrificed 58,000 lives for an unwinnable thing. And that was also a Jim Crow tactic, because a lot 19-year-old black boys fought that war, okay? Now you got 79,000 people dying from opioids. That's more than the whole Vietnam War every year. And what do they want to do? They want to take away the health care coverage that allows people to go get rehabilitation if they hit rock bottom, or if they're ready. They want to take that option away. Listen, this is such fake stuff I can't even explain. But we gave an inch. We did. Obama was very civil, and was more interested in the economy than he was in prosecuting the people who did it. So he let it slide. Like I said, you give an inch, they want a mile. We are not perfect, but we make it more perfect every chance we get. They make a mess. Buy a stinking podcast.